Karen, you've got control of the slides, haven't you?
I have indeed, yeah.
Awesome.
So just shout if I'm not quick enough on them.
Okay. Cool. I'll wait till 4:03 and then we'll kick off. That's all right with everybody? Right, I think let's kick off. I've just ticked over there. So looks like this is everybody. So hello, welcome to this year's student members meeting. I'm Rebecca Hunt, the Student Council Chair, and I will be chairing this meeting. So just to note, we have received no proposals for discussion from members for this meeting. And please can all members note the code of conduct, which will be posted in the comments, and just be respectful of each other and speakers, as we always are. Please also note that this meeting is being recorded and will be published on the SU website afterwards, as it always is, along with the minutes. Thank you, Karen. So our agenda for today. Firstly, ratification of the minutes of the previous students members meeting. I'm not sure if anybody was there at the last one and is able to ratify, but we'll take them as ratified unless I hear otherwise. Receiving the report of the trustees. Oh, sorry, was this for last year? Fantastic. That's ratifying them. Sorry, Karen, if I jumped ahead. Okay. Secondly, receiving the report of the trustees and financial statements. Thirdly, to approve the list of affiliations. 4, to open questions to the trustees. And finally, to close the meeting. That's the ratification of the minutes. Apologies. Got a bit ahead of myself there. Okay, cool. So I'm going to pass over to Sarah.
Lovely, thank you, Rebecca. So I will give a brief overview of our the report of the trustees and the financial statements, and we've got a couple of slides just to give a visual around expenditure as well. So staying on this slide for the moment, Karen, I'll speak a little bit around the report. So we are audited from August 2021 to July 2022. So the end of our financial year is always the end of a July. So it crosses over slightly different than an academic year or a calendar year. And we're externally audited in the same way as any other charity, with the external auditors selected and appointed by the trustees. And this year we used an organisation called Griffin. Our audited accounts are in a new format this year because we have had a change of legal form to become a charitable incorporated organisation, otherwise known as a CIO. So that means the reporting format and template is slightly different than previous audited accounts and will be found in a slightly different place in the Charity Commission because we now have a new charity number. For anyone who wants to get into the real detail and the nitty-gritty of our audited accounts and report, please do have a look at the Charity Commission's website where our report has already been posted and it's been up there for a few months now. So we have a lot of things that we cover in the report. So to give a brief overview, it tells you who our trustees were as at the end of July 2022. It covers our objectives, our activities, it provides our financial information and a review of that, and a whole load of information about how we're governed as a charity. So that detail is in there. As I've mentioned, we're a registered charity and we're constituted under the Education Act 1994, as well as the Charities Act 2011. And our principal legal document is our constitution, which was reviewed and updated in the process to becoming an incorporated charity and changed our legal form. And this includes approval from Student Council of the day as elected representatives of the student body, both universities, Falmouth and the University of Exeter, and our Board of Trustees as well, to enable that process to happen. Under the Act, the Students' Union's charitable object is the advancement of education for the students of Falmouth University and the University of Exeter and Cornwall campuses. And we do that by promoting the interests and welfare of students at the universities during their course of study and representing, supporting and advising students. We also act as the recognised representative channel between students and their respective university and other external bodies too. So that could be influencing local council decisions, for example, which a president may do in their sabbatical role. It's also to promote social, cultural, sporting and recreational activities and forums for discussion, debate and the personal development of students. All of this is to promote education. Our trustees are detailed alongside the way that our trustee board operates and configures itself. I won't spit my teeth out. So the Finance Committee and the Remuneration and Human Resources Committee and our Audit and Risk Committee are all detailed in there, and we have a lot of information that is overseen and decided by trustees at committee level and also at that full board trustee level as well. The minutes of trustee boards are posted on our website once they're ratified and approved by our trustee board. So if you're interested in understanding that further, or indeed becoming a student trustee, those opportunities are around the corner. So please do check that out. It's a really interesting way to become involved in your students' union if you're a student. So the Students' Union has established teams for use by our members, the students of Falmouth University and the University of Exeter in Cornwall, to support those objectives and our work for our students and the universities. And it's to really ensure that we can fulfil our charitable objectives and remain responsive to our student members. And those teams include Student Voice, Advice, Student Activities, which is all of our student-led groups, so our clubs and societies, volunteering, raising and giving, a new student engagement team, and our communications team. Those delivery teams are supported by a couple of specialist roles within the Students' Union and a couple of senior leaders who are our senior leadership team, myself and the Deputy Chief Executive. We had a really positive audit for the Students' Union. There were no concerns flagged by our auditors and we were in a good position financially. If we can move it on to the next slide, please, Karen. Okay, so also there's a lot of detail in the report regarding our income and our expenditure. So I'm going to give a very brief overview just with regards to how we spend our income and also where we get our income from. So we are a small and specialist students' union, and it's very unique, if not completely unique, with regards to our membership being comprised of 2 universities. And our income comes fully through our block grant funding mechanism, and indeed the universities have responsibilities under the Education Act to ensure that they fund the Students' Union and ensure that we are able to be sustained financially. We're not a commercial students' union, we're a small and specialist students' union, so our only income streams come through our block grant. At times, we may well generate a very small amount of income through totem card sales. And in the future, the trustees may decide to look at expanding the horizon regarding income streams. But at the moment, we are fully funded by the universities and expect this to continue. Even if there was future diversification, we would expect this to be in addition to enhance the provisions made via the block grant. So this slide shows the block grant that we get, or we got for 21-22 from Falmouth University and the University of Exeter, and you can see the figures there. So we had a block grant income of just under £1 million from each university. And you can see slightly more of our funding comes from Falmouth University, and that's because between the two universities, they agree a cost sharing mechanism, and they look at the percentage of the whole population and how much are registered to themselves respectively to calculate the amount of grant that they will provide us. So that will change slightly depending on the population, but it's roughly, and plans going forward are roughly 60% Falmouth University, 40% the University of Exeter, there or thereabouts. Next slide, please, Karen. Okay, so this slide shows us a little bit more detail, and I'm going to just highlight a few things which are in the report from each of our teams. So here's our expenditure for the 2021-2022 year, and you can see we spend on governance, student activities, voice, a small slice of the pie for student engagement, that was brand new part way through the financial year, communications, student advice, and central. So if I start with the information that's on the screen to explain, and then I'll share a little bit more information about the really interesting teams who are working directly with students as opposed to the back office teams where we ensure that we can run effectively, safely and well. So our governance section also includes expenditure on the employment of our full-time sabbatical officers who are also trustees of the Students' Union, as well as elected representatives, our presidents, the sabbaticals. There's also expenditure here for board costs and development of the board, but the majority of the expenditure is on salaries. Student activities, here's where there's funding allocated to all student-led clubs and societies, including the cost and the expenses of the minibus, but also the running of the team to ensure that people can operate safely. I will say a little bit more about activities, just get my notes here a moment. So the function of the student activities team is to provide training, support, guidance and advice to all students regarding the range of opportunities that's available outside of the curriculum. So it's really to enhance studies within the curriculum. This includes all of our student-led groups, our clubs and societies, as I mentioned earlier. Engagement in student activities began to recover during the 21-22 year after being really, to detriment during the pandemic, and the guts really taken out a lot of our very active student-led groups. So really difficult times, and during 21-22 we started to see this to recover. And that happened over the year in terms of this time frame. By the end of July 2022, we had, again, over 129 student-led groups. They had dipped previously in the pandemic years, and they were active with a total membership of 3,251 students. So all of the support provided for those students comes within that area of expenditure. Next, we have student voice in terms of expenditure, going on things like representation, campaigning, lobbying, allied training, guidance, support that comes with that, running all of our elections and the team that make all of that happen. And just to say a little bit more about student voice during 21-22, and they really focused and really developed systems, processes, guidance and support to enable students to become involved in their SU. We'd seen a lot of activity during the pandemic and it was digital, and 21-22 took us into that hybrid world, and that was a new experience for the team to navigate. And the team provides support, training, advice and guidance to all students about the ways in which they can lead change within their students' union, the way that students can stand for elections, to become involved in representative roles, whether that's a course rep, a school rep, a subject chair, a department rep, a part-time officer, or a full-time sabbatical officer standing in our elections. They also help students become involved in a wide variety of campaigns, projects, activities, which can be campus-wide and really responding to what students bring through the door. And during 21-22, the team trained over 600 representatives, and they supported the sabbatical president team to deliver a range of discussion-based meetings, and over 380 students took part in those. They focused on things that students were most concerned about that year, which includes equality, diversity and inclusivity, personal safety and violence against women, a lot of discussion and involvement around LGBTQ+ History Month, sexhibition, concerned students wanting to come together around Ukraine and support for students affected by the invasion and war, alongside our big rep meetings. So a lot of activity in student voice. And again, most of our costs are to support all of that happening. Student engagement was a brand new team, a team of a very small team actually, really to help us to progress several strands of our Here Together strategy, to create different opportunities for students to get involved, particularly if maybe some of our students didn't feel confident enough to join a club or society, but really wanted different ways to make friends and connect with fellow students across both campuses and in the range in the community as well. So student engagement sees small expenditure there because it really was starting off, and its aim is to empower students to create, learn and engage with a range of activities on and off campus, and we'll see more of that in next year's accounts as we have a full year of operation by then. So communications, you can see the expenditure in communications. That's a core function of the Students' Union. It is a facilitating function, but actually it's also really student facing. And the costs here relate to our digital presence, engagement and information to all students. And the team is responsible for leading, engagement with our student membership through all of our forms of communication, and to help students know what's available, how the SU can help students, the range of way that our members, our students can become involved and participate in the huge array of opportunities and activities that is available within your Students' Union. So an awfully important part of absolutely everything we do, and helps us to really ensure we get messages across, and hopefully you are engaging with our communications. Student advice, the expenditure here provides a specialist confidential advice service and advice team for our students, which focuses on all sorts of aspects of student life. Really, students, you can drop in and talk to our 2 advisors about anything, but our specialism is around student finance and also academic regulations. So when students are struggling maybe with appeals or some conflict or some dissatisfaction within academic life, our advisors are there to support. And during 21-22, as ever, our team of 2 provided support and training, advice and guidance. No, they didn't. I'm reading the wrong sentence, sorry. They offered free confidential advice to members on a wide range of issues, including student funding, university matters, which really are appeals, complaints, disciplinaries and housing rights, a lot around accommodation and housing coming through. During 21-22, the number of inquiries increased coming into the team, and they supported 542 students through casework, where that's ongoing casework, which can be quite complex in terms of the issues that students are facing, plus hundreds of written inquiries through Teams and through email, and use of our website and drop-ins as well. So we saw quite a significant increase in the number of students accessing our advice team. So that's what the expenditure is for there. And then central, so you can see there's quite a big cost apportioned to central, and we put quite a lot of facilitating costs within this area, and it is something that is changing over time as we review where those costs can be allocated, because some of those costs will support activities, some will support voice, engagement, comms and advice, some will support all of those things. So within this includes some staffing costs for the senior leadership team and our specialist roles, HR, finance, our specialist organisational support. It also includes our NUS affiliation fee, our Bucks affiliation fee, specialist subscriptions to help us ensure that we're tuned into the sector and that we have insight and intelligence to help inform us, staff training costs, travel costs, and things like where we buy an item, we depreciate the cost of that over the time. So that would also be shown within central. So there's an awful lot of facilitating costs that are shown within that area, which is why it looks bigger than maybe some of the teams who are focused on the delivery that I've explained. Thank you. Back to Rebecca, I think.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. That's
Lovely.
really interesting
Thank
to hear
you.
sort of the inner workings and find out a bit more about it. Yeah, thank you.
Lovely. Good.
Yeah, cool. So I think you mentioned it, but the sort of list of affiliations, just to make that point, includes NUS and Bucks, I think you mentioned. So fantastic. The last slide then, Karen. We are ready to take some questions. So if anybody does have a question, if you can please turn your camera on if possible and raise your hand. We didn't receive any topics for discussion. So if we can keep any questions related to this report for this forum. But of course, if there are any other questions that come up, feel free to get in touch with the team, go and talk to the SU, and they'll, I'm sure, be more than happy to talk to you. So does anybody have any questions at all? Raise hands or put a note in the chat. No. Fantastic. Everything was obviously clear and and good. Okay. Amazing. All right. Well, if anything comes up, do feel free to get in touch with anybody at the SU. Karen, would you be the best contact or to sort of field those, or who would be best for questions? Did she hear me? Did you hear that, Karen?
Yeah, so probably the best is either student voice at the SU, or info is our general inbox as well, or just come on in and say hello.
Cool. Awesome. Amazing. Okay, folks. Well, if that's everything, anybody else have anything to add before we sign off? No. Amazing. Lovely to see you all. Thank you very much, and have a lovely rest of your day.
Lovely.
Amazing.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Rebecca.
Rebecca.
Thanks,
Thanks all.
everyone.
Bye.
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 Thank you.